Okay, Maddie isn't here, but I really want to share with someone this dream I had.
Yes, with the gangster.
Yeah, okay, so I told them, but I obviously didn't tell you guys, but um so
What?
so I had this crazy dream, and I'm a lucid dreamer, so usually I don't do anything exciting. I just try to keep it as tame as I can. See, this is where WASD would come in handy. So getting back to my dream,
Yes.
I'm a lucid dreamer, so I very often I'll just try to keep my dreams very tame. I won't do anything exciting. I'll usually just dream about like what I need to do. I know it sounds boring, but like I'll plan out my next day, and I'll be all like, I'm gonna be so productive, and then I get to the day and it's like not. It was this dream was very diverse. I made like an action kind of story. It was like an action thriller almost. And I kind of just, it's like I can let my subconscious run a little bit. So I can just let it go a little bit. And it'll surprise me sometimes. And I just tried to do that as much as I could. Sometimes it'll get me in a pickle, and I'm all like, oh, how do I make this dream end without feeling depressed in the morning? Because it's like, I'll get myself into impossible scenarios. And I did in this one, but like, I ended up making a plot twist, and I changed like just one or two details. And it wasn't even visible details in the dream, just background details, stuff that I didn't see, but my subconscious didn't think about. And I put details in there, and then boom, it was crazy. So anyway, we'll get there. There's a main character, and he was like my main. How do I say it? Accomplice? Would accomplice be like equal?
Yeah, I would think so.
So he was, I guess, my main accomplice. And he was, like, think of a mix between Channing Tatum and J3T from Hollywood Undead. He was this big built felon that was, like, sometimes serious and badass, and sometimes just, I don't know, a lot of qualities about him. I don't want to say anything too much about them, because I don't know those two guys in real life enough
Right.
to like actually say anything solid about it. But so there's one character. I mean, there are a lot of characters that end up popping in this, just like any like regular thing. Antagonist, protagonist, secondary characters, background characters. So the setting, there are quite a few places that like the setting took place. It was, oh crap. So the span of the like storyline itself took about, I want to say like 3-ish days. But like there was history already, so it's like I already had this place that I was living at, and it was like at a school almost. I don't want to name drop places that are familiar, because I don't want people to know where I live if they don't already. But like I don't want to like be advertising where I live. Anyway, I'll just kind of describe it. But so there was like, it's like sometimes small town, sometimes suburbia, sometimes big city vibes, but like big little city, kind of. So like the place that I was living at, it was an interesting place. There was a hill, that's where I was living, and on the hill there were like 3 different sections of buildings. So the one all the way in the back was where the school was. It wasn't a very big school. It had like multiple campuses. There's the big one, and then there was the secondary one. The secondary one's where I really was at. It was next door to the like campus police department. Mm-hmm. And the place that I was at, it had 3 stories. So at the bottom floor, there was like a convenience store. There was a small, it like gave me vibes of a mall almost. So like you could buy a variety of different things. They had little shops everywhere. But it wasn't like a full-blown mall. So then the second floor that's where like there was more like student stuff, like a couple classrooms, and then I don't know, just some other like grocery stores and stuff like that. And then the third floor there were some nice dorms, and I was able to live there instead of like at the regular dorms, which were near the main campus. It was just quite the walk to get to the main campus. Oh yeah, also in this dream I was capable and running and walking and doing all that stuff without pain, because that's my favorite thing to dream about.
Well, yeah. That makes,
What?
that breaks my heart. That makes me so sad.
Why does that make you sad?
Because it sucks and it's not your fault.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, it's not my fault, but it's just how it is, you know?
It is.
So then there was the campus police department, and that was 2 stories. And it does stuff that actually does happen there too. So, hold on, I'm feeding my character, giving him food. Okay. So the police department had 2 floors, and oh, it's so difficult to explain in certain ways. Because it was a lot of offices on the 2nd floor, and you could go down to the 1st floor for certain things. They had like their own campus cars or whatever. But it's like, they didn't really patrol, because it's like this was the secondary campus, and it was like smack dab in a small town. Like there wasn't really a point for them to do it, because like there was real police, like doing their job in the town. So it was really more like a place that they would train and stuff and learn how to do all the paperwork and whatnot. And then so then there was the main campus. This campus was huge, and there were a lot of things that were going on there. So like the whole premise of the story is like we were trying to plan to help get someone out of the top floor of the campus, because this person was almost being held hostage, like more like they couldn't leave, because it's not like they were sex trafficked or anything.
Yeah.
I know that they were like being held against their will.
Okay.
I kind of took inspiration from who that character is. I took a little bit of inspiration from you. Definitely a redhead. I don't know how to explain her other features though. There was no love interest in like this entire thing.
Okay.
But she was definitely there. I definitely put Mavis in there in the dream. She was a supporting character.
Good
She
job.
actually helped me out. She did really good.
Yay.
Mavis, when you're watching this, you did really good. I'm proud of you, okay, kiddo? Like, comment, and subscribe for Mavis.
It's her dream.
It's her. This was the dream, okay? Mavis did great, but more about the setting, because there's a lot of setting.
Yeah, like,
So
oh my God,
this
get on with the
campus,
story.
this campus was like it's 5 stories tall. That's how much I counted.
Jesus.
So the top floor is where she was being kept. And she was basically being kept as like an indentured servant.
Oh, bummer.
I don't know like what age and era this was been, or if like an alternate reality where that's like a thing where people are in too much in debt, but it wasn't very common, because it's like we were getting this person in particular because it was abnormal, and
like totally not okay.
yeah, I think it was my accomplice's friend who got in over her head or something.
All right.
And like bigwigs at the college kind of kept this ring very quiet, kind of like how the secret like society of people in the movie Rings. I really like that movie, by the way. Definitely go watch it, unless you don't like horror shows or you don't like crappy sequels. I love crappy sequels.
Why?
I don't know. I need to remedy that. I love crappy horror sequels.
Okay, because I was like, are you serious right now?
No, I love crappy horror sequels.
So if
But
they
I
make a
don't like.
terrible-
But I don't like it if they have a crappy horror sequel, and then they do another one after that. That's crappy. It's like the second sequel. No, I don't. I can't. I don't like those. I only like one crappy sequel following it. If they do a third one, it's got to be a good movie. So it's like you get that one chance. So yeah, this college was 5 stories. Like it was it's a prestigious kind of college. It was like I want to say close to 3 miles, more into like the denser part of like the town, where it's like more city-ish. Um, Small town still, but like it was the campus. Uh, the size of it, like all the way around, because it was just one big building, as opposed to like an open campus where you have all these different buildings around everywhere. It was just one big building, and it was the size, like square footage area, of your average mall. So it was massive. Um, so it was quite the place, and it was heavy security all the way. Once you got to the higher floors, lost my train of thought.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been listening in and out because I keep focusing on what I'm doing, and I'm like, wait a minute, he's still just telling the setting. I'm not.
Yeah.
I lost it.
Yeah. Did you catch the square footage was about the size of an average mall?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So it's freaking
So, like, it's
huge.
massive?
Yeah, this place is huge. Like, yeah. It's probably the only reason that people really came to this town. So there's that. And that's at the lowest point. It's like in the valley of this town. All I know is that like they had a river running through the bottom floor. It was like fancy, rich kind of place. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's super cool. And they had all the other like subject areas there. There are large parking lots all around, foresty throughout the areas. So it was pretty decent when it came to the naturalist around. So which is what gave it more of a small town vibe. Which is why like I associated it with that. Because it wasn't just like, like going into the city and you don't really see that many trees. No, there's like solid amount of trees everywhere, and there are bushes and there's greenery, and it's like, yeah. So so there's that area, there's the parking lot, and then a couple miles out, you would get to, or it'd start going uphill. And that's where you get to the small town part closer to where I lived. And they had like, 3 rows of buildings around the main street. In the back, that's where there was the campus place that I was like living next to the, whatever. Okay. Next to the campus police that, really wasn't really used. There was also on the main campus, there was like this this corner on the bottom floor, and like the second story too, where it was like their law area and the actual like campus police, and they took their job very seriously. So that's where most of the problems came from. And I know that this was some kind of unlawful dystopian world, because it's like they definitely used lethal force. So they even though they were just campus police, like they would full tactical suit and just kill people.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. But it's not like they had to use it often. It's so interesting how this world worked in my mind, where like they would kill people, but they were it wasn't like, unlawful killing people. It was very much like they were relatively fair when it came to it. Weird, right? But yeah, no, they had like SWAT teams that they had on staff and or training that, they'd have machine guns, and they'd have like full rolling tanks and stuff. There was all these different aspects to like their almost military grade policing system.
Interesting.
Behind the area I was living, there was this campground, and it had like a certain thing under construction. So the area I was living in, it was sloped where the buildings were until like the campus B, which was on kind of a plateau, sloped again, and then it had like this fairgrounds area up above it. And that's where we had like, the county fair. and they would set up like a Ferris wheel and little rides, and they'd have all these different things. It wasn't huge. It also wasn't small. The Ferris wheel is fairly large. I know that because it plays an important part in the plot. And like we were planning this entire thing out, we were making sure that everything was going to go down on the day of the fair. And so they were just starting to set up, but they also, like, at the very back of the fair, they were building like a new structure. But before they were getting started on the actual structure itself, they were building like I don't even know what it's called, but where it's like all the piping or like there are like a bunch of metal pipes and like boards and everything to make like staircases that have multiple levels. They must have been making like they're planning to make some kind of tall statue or something, because it was like 5 stories high. Jeez. Like there were 5 different levels, and there were staircases and ladders to get up them and stuff. It was a pretty solid structure, so I figured that they were gonna have some kind of thing. Okay, and we have all those, and then we have there's a plateau, because at the there's that structure, and then behind it, it goes up again, it plateaus again, and there's a large parking garage for the fairgrounds. And it's a couple stories, nothing crazy for as far as parking garages go. And you, like, that's where I parked my van, which I brought one, obviously.
Of course.
Yep. It's all part of the plan. But I parked it in a particular spot that was in like a corner spot, so it was backed in and it could like drive out, just straight drive out. And behind the parking garage, there's another final slope, and then you get to the top of the biggest hill, and on that hill, starting at the top, flowing all the way down through the other side, there was suburbia, so like a bunch of houses, and that's where my accomplice, I don't know what his name is, I'm gonna call him Henry. So that's where he parked his van, and he had I had like a small SUV, and he had like the big standard white van, okay, that carries a bunch of passengers, like a cargo van. So that's where he parked his, close to a house, and I don't know whose house we parked it in front of, but they didn't have a problem with it. So it was probably probably an empty house, or someone we knew was going on vacation or something. Yeah. But it was on the road right next to the hill that goes down. And it's a super quiet suburbia, so people weren't really checking it that much. So I figured that, I thought everything was, I didn't realize why we had left the van up there until later in the plot, which was quite smart of my subconscious to trick me into thinking, because I was like, why are we parking all of our vehicles separately? Mm-hmm. But it will make sense in time. So we go ahead and start this plan. I'm just carrying on my daily life. I was considering buying headphones from one of the stores that was near my dormitory, because like at the bottom floor there was like a small mall-ish with stores. One of them was an electronics store, and I was gonna get a pair of headphones. This is just me kind of living through the motions, because we had a couple days and we were setting up and getting ready. And so we go ahead and we have our weapons. It was in the van that was up in suburbia, and we got them all staged. He was the one that brought the weapons, and he was the one that was like the structural planner. So he was the one mapping out how we would go. Which, I mean, in the game, in like the play of my mind, it didn't really show much. So I didn't really get to know much about what we were actually about to do. So I kind of just rolled with it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but we got the setting. We got some of the characters. We know Mavis is gonna be in it.
Yes.
She's a star. We know Henry's gonna be in it.
Right.
What am I gonna call this girl? Her name is gonna
You based
be.
her off of me. You didn't give her a name.
I didn't know anyone's name in this dream. I was very,
Oh my
very.
God.
It was very much not something that I thought about. We're naming the girl. I forgot. That's what we were doing. Jessica.
All right. Jess. Got it. Jessica.
Her name is Jess. So there's Jessica. She's the redhead that's being imprisoned, almost like indentured servitude. She can't leave. She lives up there. She serves people. Her entire life is just dreary. I don't know why we were trying to save her, but we were trying to save her. And there was no way to do it other than busting her out, like, because they are like totalitarian almost. And then, okay, let's talk antagonists. So there are the elite class that were imprisoning her. None of them were too important, except for the one that was really in charge of their militia. What am I gonna call him? He was like he was the head honcho. He was the negotiator. He was also, what else was he? He did negotiations. He's the one that commanded everyone and had total control over what they were doing. So he was, executive. He was kind of ruthless. He was a little sadistic because he liked to make people suffer. So super cool guy, super cool. Like, cause he was very charismatic as well. He was like the main antagonist. And there was a secondary antagonist, which he was important, but not that important. I don't know what to name military guy. What should I name military guy? What's a good villain name? You wanna know what? This is for you, one of my favorite YouTubers. He's gonna be Mark. He's gonna be Mark. No offense to you. I don't think you're a villain, but
But you could be.
But you could be. You'll never know. So we're gonna call him Mark. But this guy was definitely a blondie. So, but anyway, his name is Mark. And then the secondary villain, or antagonist, he was more of like a Jake. Like a Jacob. So, we're getting ready. First day, I go ahead and just live my normal life. And I'm letting Henry stay at my place. And he's just doing his thing. He's getting us ready. He's prepping things. He's planning things out. So I almost bought myself a headset. And honestly, what I was thinking about was I really want to try one out, but I don't know where I can. I want to try out the Steel series. That's the headset I'm looking into. Mm-hmm. The one that I'm looking at is like $80-ish for a good headset, for a good gaming headset. And if I get that, then I can replace the Beats, because the Beats that I wear for my videos, they are actually not mine. They're Maddie's. I've just been stealing them. So I was trying that on. I just imagined what it would feel like. And I didn't end up getting it. I was actually we were stashing cash, because it was gonna be rough, because we, after the entire plot, we had to basically get out and escape, which wasn't part of the story. It ended when we escaped. If we escaped, you'll never know. I mean, you will once I'm finished with the story.
Oh my god.
The second day, I was mapping out and making good relations with the people who were part of the law enforcement. And it's the day of the fair, and everyone's starting to be there.
Right.
So half of the campus, it wasn't as busy, so half the campus was there. Okay. We go ahead and go to the main campus. That's where we start things out. And we start working our way up the levels. We actually disguised ourselves as a couple executives. We definitely abducted them. We didn't kill them. But we forged our identification so we could get up to top tier.
Okay.
It was pretty easy passing everything at that point. What, do you not like this?
Why are you still wearing this?
It keeps my neck dry.
Oh my god.
And it
Do you
like
want it back?
No, I'm okay now.
Okay.
My hair's pretty dry. So we were getting up to the upper floors,
Right.
made it to the 4th floor, and that's where things started to get a little bit hairy because we noticed that it was a surprise militia day, so everyone was already geared up, and they were starting to train, and we were like, oh, this is gonna be a little bit more complicated than we thought. So we get up to 5th floor. And it's very bougie. They have like all the people there, old farts, and they're like super, I don't know, just bureaucracy. And they're just enjoying themselves, drinking wine, having delicious foods. And we see the person that we're trying to get.
Mm-hmm.
Jess. Yeah. And she sees us, and she like her eyes get wider, and she just keeps going about her business because she realizes, oh shit's about to go down.
Mm-hmm.
So there were guards there, right, at the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
We had like stun guns, so we took them. We grabbed them real quick by their necks, stunned them both. They both went down, and everyone up there gasped. We go ahead and grab her because she's closer to us. We waited. And then we start going down the stairs. And that's when, everyone starts catching wind. Mm-hmm. What was his name? Mark. he was up on the 5th floor, so he like goes ahead and gets his thing out because we had our guns out and we were pointing it particularly at him because we knew he was in charge. Mm-hmm. And because that's what I was working on finding out like the past couple days. I was making relations so I could find out what does he look like.
Yeah.
And so we go ahead and start going down levels, and it's sirens start going because they don't want anyone being taken. Okay. Apparently she was really valuable. I don't know why. We can delve into that later. So we start going down the stairs, and we got to split up. So we meet another person that we had. We contracted them because they were like a local mercenary. So we contracted them to grab her and take her out the back entrance. While we, since our faces were there, and everyone was all like, okay, these two are the people we need to get, because they had heads-up displays and everything. They go ahead and start mobilizing. We start running. I separate from Henry, and I start going down a particular staircase. I dive behind a pillar. And then a couple of the militiamen, they start going down the staircase. One of them says, I don't know, like, because there are 2 ways to go at this point. That was the bottom floor. Mm-hmm. And so one of them says, I'll go this way. You check out that way. And at this point, it was just that one guy, and there were people mobilizing towards the back because they saw Henry, and they were going after him. Okay. For some reason, they thought he was the bigger threat. And so, because he's a big guy, Mm-hmm. And so I go ahead, and maybe the mercenary was with him at the time, so the larger group, more people. And then, I go ahead and dive out to the side, and I jump over the staircase because, glass staircase, it goes down and it curves around. I jump down from the staircase, and I start creeping up. When I start following this guy, he goes out all the way out to the parking lot, and that's when I go ahead and, because I was the chemist, flashbang some chemicals. He gets surprised. I disarm him from, the side, because he couldn't see through the smoke. Mm-hmm. And then I go ahead and rip his display off and disconnect it in the process because I was studying that particular technology. That's also why I was making connections. And so I was able to turn off his locator. And I started to hold him hostage, and I was backing up. Henry had circled around and broken off from where the mercenary is because he was going to hide Jess. And So we keep going around. He meets me, and he had dodged them, so they lost him temporarily, but they were, on his scent, basically.
Right.
So we go ahead and keep going. We go up the hill past some forest part, and we're on the road now. And we go ahead and pull open one of the manholes, and we go ahead and jump in. And so we pull back over, and we're going in, and it's this, like, the sewer.
Right.
But it's a weird world. We go ahead and go, because there's, they were following us. They pulled the manhole open, and we go through and then turn right into this next part, and then there's a door, and there's a lot of maintenance down there, so they actually have like a makeshift bathroom that
All right.
workers could go in, because it's not like they're gonna put a porta potty down there.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of construction going on with like the sewage system or whatever. And so we go in and we close the door behind us, and Henry, the only way to get out is this small little rectangular window. And this guy that we have hostage, this entire time he's been like trying his best to fight us. And he's being a little bitch. I gotta hold him at gunpoint in order for him to do what we say. And trying to push his luck by like yelling and keep getting people to follow us, which we planned for. And like little disregard for his life, which some people are like that, or some disregard for regard. So I'm saying, because the guys make it to the door and we're not out, and one of the guys is standing right in front of it, and they're saying, come out now, saying all these things. Henry starts to shoot at the door and starts shooting through it, and this one guard that's in front of it, he starts getting all shot up, and he starts shooting through the door too. And Henry gets all shot up and blood spews, and I go ahead and fling open the window and I say, get out, to like this guy. And I go ahead and hop out behind him, and I still have my gun point. And because they have their entire suits on and everything, they couldn't get out as easily as we could. So Henry is gone.
Henry, no.
And so I go ahead and leap out, and they start doubling back, trying to get back to the manhole so they can find us and chase us. And so we keep going. I got him. We go up. There's a point where I gotta go through the old police station, and so they radio in, but we planned that. And so I go ahead and jump down from like a carport area that they have over there, and go ahead and use some of the cover that they have from all the cars to keep getting away from the current people. I keep dragging this guy along with me, and I mean, at some point he tries to escape by going up to the second floor, and it's like it's such a disaster, that part. And I ended up having to like shoot him in the foot.
Jesus.
Yeah, and just have to keep dragging him along, and he was like it was making the plan really hard. We get to because there's the fairground there. I end up tricking them. They go around up to the parking garage because they want to get in front of us, and they see my car start up, and so they like start trying to like run at it, and it starts driving right at them, and they jump out of the way, and it sets off an EMP and just wipes out all their systems and knocks them all to the floor, knocks most of them out. We weren't in the car. It was remotely done. So I keep going, and I'm going towards this fairground, but people start rolling in with like their cars and their tanks and everything, and I'm like, crap. So I go ahead and start climbing the structures, and there's the Ferris wheel, and they're barging into this fair, guns out, and people are freaking out. And like the Ferris wheel, the attendants are like, oh shit, and they go ahead and bail, and all these people in the Ferris are like,
Oh my god.
get us out. And they're all like, oh my god, and there's like gunfire, and like we're dodging up, and I'm like getting us all the way up, and I get to like the fourth floor of like this structure, and like the guy starts the Mark. What was the secondary villain guy?
Wait, did we name the secondary villain?
I don't even remember.
His name can be Chauncey.
Jake. I said
Okay,
Jake.
Jake works.
Yeah, so Jake.
From State Farm.
I like Chauncey better. His name is now Chauncey. So Chauncey, he's still really trying to be all like, you're going to die and you're never going to get away with this and we're going to find her and all this stuff. And next thing you know, I have him by the throat and I have the gun to his head. And I'm pretty sure Chauncey was like Mark's nephew.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's why we chose him, or why I was following him, basically, because it just worked out that way.
Mm-hmm.
We were just gonna take whoever, but we got him, and then, Mark goes ahead and megaphones. He's like, it doesn't have to end this way. We can all walk away from this just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure we can, Mark.
I start making my demands, and I'm like, you come alone up, just you, and you have to come unarmed. And then he comes up, and I keep saying, I know you're gonna send your guys up. If they come up, at least make it a fair fight. Have them take off their vests. And he's like, okay, and he tells everyone down below to take off their vests because gunpoint to his nephew.
Got it.
And so everyone does, but they don't shed their weapons. And he's like telling me I have big balls to do this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have any weapons on him. And so he's trying to negotiate with me, and I could definitely notice like that these guys are quietly trying to come up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go ahead and I'm like, he did me some kind of personal wrong, and I'm getting all emotional or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, it doesn't have to end this way. He obviously concealed a weapon.
Of course.
So
Mark.
freaking Mark. And so he's about to draw when I go ahead and throw his nephew at him, and I start bolting for the Ferris wheel.
Dun, dun.
And then everyone starts running up, and so they're coming up, and I go ahead and start jumping through the like the metal parts and start climbing up the carts until I'm on the 5th floor, and people start climbing up the 5th floor, and I'm standing on top of like one of the cars, and they stop, and they all gunpoint, and they're just like, you're surrounded, it's over. And I'm like, sitting there like, and then I throw like a chemical down to the floor, and I get down and enough on the floor or the roof of the thing that like I'm not affected. And then as soon as my chemicals hit the ground, flames just all the way around the Ferris wheel.
Jesus.
Because we had planted below surface level a bunch of like a ring of chemicals, and so it just flames everywhere. And then as soon as the flames like stop and the gunfire stops, I'm gone. So what I did was I opened the hatch and I jumped into the Ferris wheel car, and there are 3 people in there. So there is Mavis in there.
Hi, Mavis.
There is the 2 people who are disguised, and they have like heavy disguises on, and I duck, and the guy, because there's a guy and a girl, and they go ahead and like he like covers me, and we like cower like we're scared, and he's like putting a disguise on me while he's covering me, and I get disguised as a very convincing old man. And so like I'm sitting there shaking, and it's like we're acting super terrified and everything. And they're like looking, and they're like trying to vet people and be all like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, he just disappeared. What happened? And so they start getting people off the Ferris wheel, and they're like, go, 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 and like looking at each one of us. And I go ahead and get out, and then they go ahead and they didn't notice that there's an extra person in that, because why would they be looking there?
Right, it's not like they were counting.
And so we go ahead and get out. And they start looking around, and they're doing everything, and we go ahead and go up to the parking garage, slide out the back of the parking garage, go up the hill, and then we get into the van and start shedding our disguises. And there's Henry.
Henry's alive.
Henry was alive, and he shed off his, and then there was Jess, and she shed off hers, and we got Mavis with us.
Yay, Mavis!
Super good actor, by the way. Woo! And so I go ahead and we're getting ready, and then the driver, goes ahead and like starts putting on his clothes, and like he was the guy that was being shot at in the sewer.
Oh my
and he's
God.
also the same guy who told the nephew to go the other way.
This guy.
Yep.
Double agent.
And then in the back we have someone, calculating our route, and that's the mercenary.
Bruh.
And we go ahead and start driving out of there in this van into suburbia and then out into the world.
What?
And that's where my dream ended.
Oh my God.
And then next thing Mark's like the very end is like Mark sitting there, and he's like taking tally of all his like the crew, and then he's like looking through the cameras trying to find out, and he notices, throughout all the cameras, he notices in the corner of one of the cameras, after they had all gotten out, that the guy had gotten out, and he was like, "What?" Because
Dun.
and they had come. Then he hears that they come back and they're like, "We can't find the body. We can't find either of the bodies that we had left there." And he was starting to have realizations, and then he was like, flash to the people inside of the car,
thing.
and then how we got out and how we seemed sort of suspicious, but he didn't suspect too much at that time.
Right.
And he's just trying to find, and there was the madness of the crowd that we ended up slipping out in, and just everything started to click, and he was like, "Oh shit." Yeah, so it was quite a ride.
Jesus.
So that was the dream that I had last night. And I thought I ought to record it because it was an intense dream.
It was a good one.
Yeah, quite the good plot twist at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we got her out. There was something special about her, like some kind of ability that she could do. We had to like remove some kind of device from inside her or whatever, which they had already removed the tracker, but there was something to inhibit her abilities, and we were getting out, and that was the end. Yeah, I didn't get to dream the rest of it because I woke up. So, yeah. Anyway, that was the story.
I just imagined Wilford Warstash being the bad guy.
Wilford Warstash with the pink stash.
Yes. Like, that's all I can see.
Oh,
is
that's absolutely hilarious.
him being the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, that was the story I had.
That's a lot.
Isn't it?
Like, Jesus.
And it was a lot. There were a lot more details that I didn't like divulge in, like the encounters I had with some of the people, some of the reports that I ended up learning about, and the encounter I had at a grocery store, like a convenience store, and I was looking for particular items and like wondering when they'll go back in stock. There were the nights that I spent with Henry and some of the floor plans that we were laying out and looking at for the main campus. Just details about like the glass that was some of the railing, some of the metallic devices that they were learning how to use that I learned about. Which when I say metallic devices, I mean like newer weaponry that they were trying to do that would subdue someone completely without killing them, so that they could take them in and torture them later without tasing them too. It was like almost like something that you would throw at them and it would wrap around them. And they tried using it on us at some points, but they weren't able to connect it. We had planned ahead. At one point, they almost got the mercenary, but we had given him something that it was like a self-electrocuting device, where he had like some like rubber lining on part of his suit that it would attach to. The particular part it would attach to, and it would completely deactivate the device, and then fall right off, so it didn't work. there was a lot going on.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so like some of the details I definitely left out because they weren't as important, but you get the idea of how detailed my dreams can be sometimes.
Yeah, oh my god. That was the longest dream of my life.
It was definitely one of my medium length dreams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some of them are much longer, and sometimes I feel like, oh my god, can I just not anymore?
Yeah, fuck that. I'm out. I want to rest.
Uh-huh. Like, if it was a longer dream, I probably would have had double the time that I was in there.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh. I don't know. For me, it's weird because I feel like time goes differently in my dreams. Sometimes it can be super long, sometimes it can't. Like, I feel like I'll get hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, like unrealistically long amounts of time of just content. So, yeah. I don't know how that works, or even if that makes any sense, or if there's any kind of scientific basis to that.
No, I think that's like totally how dreams work though, because like I've definitely had dreams where I'm like, this is like so long and I remember so many details. So it's like there's no way this dream could have happened in a short amount of time.
Yeah, because I mean, like, honestly, it felt like I didn't feel like I had 3 days worth, but it felt like I had a full day's worth of dream.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was quite the ride. But that's just a dream.
Oh
A lucid dream.
Thanks for watching.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god, Nolan.
What?
The number of times today at the painting thing when this woman said, you don't need to do the whole brush, just the tip.
The family went to a painting thing. I stayed
Maddie
home.
and I looked at each other.
I stayed home because I had to take care of Azzy. She didn't have her nap yet, so I missed most of it.
I mean, you didn't have to.
Just the tip? That's hilarious.
Just the tip.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Don't do the whole